Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to talk about heroes, mainly what squads you should be playing depending on how much money you spend on the game, and my thoughts on each of the squads and how strong they are. So first of all, there are three squads you can play. You can play tanks, missile, or aircraft. Tanks, in my opinion, is the weakest amongst the three. Aircraft is the second best, and missile is the best squad in this game. On my server, it's only currently day 64. We just unlocked Lucius today. We're going to get Morrison next week. So starting next week, we can play aircraft as a main. The last two missile heroes are Adam and Fiona. We still don't have them. We have to wait till day 99 before we can get the last missile hero. So that's still a few weeks away. For each squad, if you have all 5 heroes of the same type, you actually get a bonus. So this chart will show you what you get. So if you have all 5 heroes of the same type, it boosts the HP, attack, and defense for all the heroes by 20%. So that's a very big boost. If you have 4 heroes and another type, it's only 50% boost. 3 heroes and then 2 heroes is 10%, and 3 heroes and the last 2 heroes are different types, then it's only a 5% boost. So the 20% boost is actually a lot. You want to have the same type for each squad. You can mix and match. You can play some tank and an aircraft like this squad, but it's not as strong compared to a squad that has all 5 of the same type. Like I said before, tanks is the weakest type in my opinion compared to the other two type. The reason being is tanks only have 2 attackers. So Kim is an attacker because all 3 of her skills are tailored towards damage and doing more damage. Same thing for Stedman. All 3 of his skills are for damage. So this is the third hero that you put in the back row, which is Marshall. And Marshall is not an attacker. He's a support. So his third skill reduces his cooldown and reduces damage of the strongest hero on your enemy side. The second skill casts a boost for your whole team. So because he's not a pure attacker, the damage output is a lot less compared to missile or aircraft. Aircraft has 3 attackers. Same thing with the missile. So that for that reason, that's why I think tanks are the weakest type. Aircrafts is the second strongest squad in this game, in my opinion. There is 3 damage dealers for the aircraft squad. So Morrison, which is coming out next week, is a pure damage dealer, but he is a physical damage dealer. DVA, also a pure damage dealer. She is an energy damage dealer. And Skylar is also a energy damage dealer. All of her skills are towards attack, but because of her second skill, her damage output isn't as high compared to Morrison or DVA. So for her active skill, she has a chance of stunning the back row heroes for 2 seconds. So it's a 20% chance. And if you have her at 4-star, she has a chance of stunning all 3 back row heroes. Missile is the strongest amongst the 3 types. There's 3 damage dealers, and all 3 heroes are just catered towards damage. It doesn't do anything else special. So Swift, which is a physical damage dealer, Tesla, energy damage dealer, and Fiona, which comes out on day 99, is a physical damage dealer. This is where it gets very interesting on what type you should be playing and what is better. So there's a thing called troop type counter in this game. So tanks receive minus 20% damage from missile, missile minus 20% damage from aircraft, and aircraft minus 20% damage from tanks. What this means is tanks has an advantage over missile heroes, aircraft has an advantage over tank heroes, and missile heroes have an advantage over aircraft heroes. This minus 20% damage is actually a very big deal in this game. The longer your heroes stay alive, the more damage your heroes can put out. After knowing that there's a counter mechanism in this game, you'll learn that so for tanks, they have a counter against missiles. So like I said before, missile has 2 heroes that use physical damage and 1 that use energy damage. So let's look at the tank heroes first. So Williams, his passive skill gives him a damage reduction by 30% if you have him maxed out, 5-star, and skill maxed out, of all damage taken. So that's for energy damage and physical damage. his active skill, after casting the skill, boosts the defense of the front two heroes. So this is just your straight defense. It doesn't defend against energy damage. So for Murphy, so Murphy's third skill reduces all damage taken in battle by 13% for the front row. So this only applies for the front row, and it's not a big amount, but it does help. His cast skill, his active skill, after casting the skill, boosts the physical damage reduction of the front heroes by 23%. So at 4-star, it applies for the whole squad. So tanks are mainly for physical damage reduction. So this is kind of like a built-in counter on top of the actual counter for fighting against missiles. So tanks has a very big advantage over missiles because their physical damage reduction is very high, and 2 of the 3 damage dealers for missile is physical damage. So now we go to aircraft. So you're going to see a pattern here. Aircraft has an advantage over tanks. Tanks have 2 main damage dealers, and they're both energy damage dealers. So let's look at Carly first. So her passive skill reduces this hero's energy damage taken by 32%. So just energy damage. Second skill doesn't really do anything crazy, but it does reduce the target's energy damage by 13%. So another energy damage reduction. Lucius, his passive skill, I don't have him leveled up yet, but his passive skill boosts damage reduction for the front row heroes by 2.6% in combat, and further reduces energy damage. So another energy damage reduction. His active skill boosts all allies' energy damage reduction by 10.33% for 5 seconds. Okay, so if you have him at 4-star, aircraft heroes gain an additional 15% energy damage reduction. So all aircraft skills for defense are catered towards energy damage reduction. And because tanks only have energy damage dealers, uh, aircrafts has a big advantage over tanks. Finally, we get to the missiles. This is the strongest type in the game, in my opinion. So missiles have an advantage over aircraft heroes. So let's look at the 2 defensive heroes. The first one is McGregor. His passive skill reduces all damage taken in battle by 30%. This is really good. It's the same as Williams. His active skill, prioritize taunting 2 front enemies, reducing their attack by 16.5% for 8 seconds. At 4-star, he will taunt an additional 2 targets. So 4 heroes will get taunted by this hero. They are forced to attack this hero for the duration. That applies only for the auto attacks. But with the 16% 5 damage debuff is actually really good. So 4 heroes get debuffed. So the other tank hero for missiles is Adam. So Adam is not out in my server yet. His passive skill in battle reduces all damage received by front row units by 13%, with the effects doubled for missile vehicle heroes in counter defense state. So counter defense state is his active skill. So let's read that. Enters a counter defense state for 8.8 seconds after releasing the skill. Responds with a normal attack upon taking damage up to once per second. So this skill only applies to him at first, but once he's at 4-star, he will apply it to the front row units also. So these two go hand in hand. Normally you have your tanks in the front 2 positions, right? You would have McGregor here, and then you would have Adam here. But missiles for Mega Whales in the late game, when they have a lot of mystics, they can actually put Swift in the front. So let's say this is Adam, this is Swift, and this is McGregor. So Adam will cast the skill. Both front heroes will get 26% damage reduction against all damage, right? And also the front 2 heroes will get the counter state. So Swift is going to kill everybody late game when you have a lot of good gears on him. So this is what Mega Whales like to do. I haven't seen any other player do this because it just requires an insane amount of equipment and stuff because you need Swift to stay alive. So my stage of the game in my server, if I were to try to attempt something like this and put one of these attacking heroes in the front, they will die really fast because they just don't stay alive long enough. So it's not possible right now, but it will be possible later. So aircraft have, missile have an advantage over aircraft. Missiles have two heroes that do physical damage, and like I said earlier, all the defense for aircraft heroes are catered towards energy defense. So missiles just destroys aircraft. But because of Skylar for aircraft, Skylar has the stun, so it's really RNG, right? But if you get lucky, if you can stun, if you can stun Swift or Fiona, which is also physical damage, then that reduces the damage you take in battle. So there's a lot of RNG, but in general, missiles will destroy aircraft. In summary, tanks, pros, high energy damage, high physical damage reduction. Cons, two attackers only, low energy damage reduction. For aircrafts, pros, high energy damage reduction. Cons, low physical damage reduction. And for missile, pros, high physical damage. Cons, does not have any specialized defense. So there's no skills to reduce damage like Lucius or Murphy. Now that we have an understanding of all the different types, their advantages and disadvantages, it's time to decide which type you should be playing. I'll try to explain it as simply as I can. If you're free to play, you don't have a choice. You have to play tanks. If you spend money, you should be playing aircraft. Missiles is reserved for mega whales. I am going to be playing aircraft as my main. Since we only get matched with servers that are very similar to your own server, so they're not that much older and they're not that much newer than us, let's just assume all players in our bracket will be similar as my server. So let's assume you'll be fighting players that are similar Squad 1 power as you are in general. So Squad 1 power, if you're free to play, um, I assume you're 10 million powers or lower. I do have a free to play account on the same server as my main, and Squad 1 power is 8.29. So I'm using that as like a small reference. So let's just assume 10 million power or lower, you're free to play. If you're a spender, you're between 10 million to 15 million power. So my main squad, Squad 1, is right now 13.5-ish. So I would fall into this category. And if you're a mega whale, I'll assume you are 15 million power or more. Okay? Um, so if you're free to play, you have to play tanks. There's no choice. You don't have a choice of playing missile or aircraft right now. If you are a spender, you fall into this category. You can play tanks, aircraft, or missile, and same thing with mega whales. So let's assume everybody in the server is playing tanks. So I fall into this category. I'm at 13.5. So I'm going to be beating these players anyway, the free-to-play players, because their power is just lower than me in general. But um, I want to beat this 15 million power player. I'm 13.5. So I can't beat them if I'm playing tanks with them. But if I play aircraft, then I can beat them, right? Because aircraft has an advantage over tanks. So if I were to play aircraft, then I have a chance of beating a player that's 15 million power. So with the counter advantage of 20% damage reduction, you sometimes you're able to beat players that are 1.5 to 2 million power higher than you. That's just how good it is. So if I'm in this category, it's a no-brainer for me that I should play aircraft, right? Playing missile would be a bad choice because everybody around me is playing tanks, right? Missiles have a tanks has an advantage over missile. So missile is out of the question. That's just plain dumb because everybody in my range is playing tanks. So I'm going aircraft. If I'm going aircraft, then maybe other players in my range will be like, oh, why should I be playing tanks? I should be playing aircraft, right? Because I have an advantage of all these tank players. So most of the players in this category are going to be playing aircraft. Okay, so that's the reason why, right? These guys have no choice. They're free to play. You have to be playing tanks. So aircraft, you have to go aircraft. But let's say everybody in this range went aircraft. wouldn't it be a good idea for you to go missile then? Because you have an advantage over the aircraft. That's true, but your power is not that much higher than these free to plays, right? So if you go missile, you have an advantage of the players similar power to you, but there's always going to be some players that stick with tanks. So you'll get destroyed by those tank players. So aircraft against aircraft would be the safest route, in my opinion. So you have an option of playing missile, but it won't be in the best choice in my opinion. So let's go to the mega whales now. So we assume that everybody in this category is playing aircraft. So what should mega whales be playing? So if you play aircraft, you would have the same advantage as the other aircraft players. But if you're a mega whale, you're most likely fighting other mega whales. So if you assume the other mega whales are playing aircraft, kind of like in the same situation where the mid spenders assumes everybody's playing tank below them, the obvious choice for you would be going to play missile. Tanks has an advantage over you, but because for mega whales your power is so high, like the power difference is too high for them to beat you regardless if they have an advantage or not. So that's why mega whales you pretty much have to go missile, because if the other mega whales don't go missile and they go aircraft, you have a big advantage over them because you're playing missile. So this is the reasoning for which squad you should be playing if you are a spender or not. So in order to play aircraft, it doesn't require that much. You just have to buy all the aircraft heroes. You spend all your shards, all your resources on the aircraft. You wait for the aircraft heroes to come up before you spend your shards, and you'll be just fine. I hope this video helped you decide what squad you should be playing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.